Good morning and welcome to Coaster Capital's AGM. My name is Julie Capsalis and I'm proud to be the chair of Coaster Capital Local Enterprise Partnership. For the second year running, we're delivering on with the expert support from the team at Platform 9. The event is also live streaming on our YouTube channel. Both myself and the board are broadcasting this AGM from the wonderful Harlequin Theatre in Red Hill. East Surrey has been the recipient of LEP funding for a number of flagship projects, including Marketfield Way in Red Hill, which I'm really excited to be visiting later today. They received £984,000 of local growth funding and £1.2 million of Getting Building funds for the redevelopment of a large underutilised site, including new residential flats, a multi-screen cinema, high-quality ground and first floor commercial space, on-site car parking, and major public realm improvements. We also awarded £426,000 to create a wildlife-rich natural environment in Holmesdale. This is part of a new investment which places nature's recovery at the heart of the local economy, transforming nature conservation and sustainable growth. We're proud to be the first local enterprise partnership in the UK to be investing in natural capital, working with our wonderful partners at the Surrey Wildlife Trust. I want to start by covering the formalities of the AGM agenda before moving on to a review of some of our successes and the context and our plans for the future. So the AGM. The minutes from the 2020 AGM can be found online and are approved here today. I'm pleased to commend the annual report for 2020-2021, which can also be found online. The accounts for the year ended the 31st of March 2021 were approved by the board at our meeting on the 1st of July and are also online. I'd like to take this opportunity to confirm the Board of Directors for 2021-2022 and to thank the board members that have stepped down over the past year. So to confirm our board, myself as chair, Jonathan Sharrett, chief executive, and Karen Dukes as our interim vice chair. And then our business representatives, Jamie Arnell, Martin Harris, Richard Hopkins, Amanda Jones, David Joy, Ed and Claire Mason. And our public sector board members, Councillor Natalie Bramall, Councillor Phelan McCafferty, Councillor Paul Marshall and Councillor Mark Bron. And our further and higher education representatives, Francis Rutter and Jane Longmore. Since the last AGM, the following board members have stepped down, and I'd like to personally thank them for their contributions. Councillor Colin Kemp. I'd like to thank Colin for his wisdom, sense of fun, and passionate commitment to economic development in Surrey. Councillor Dan Humphreys. Dan has done an exceptional job representing the districts and boroughs on the board, always practical and solutions focused. Dan has been an invaluable asset and contributor to the board. Also, Councillor Bob Lanza, who served as a deputy to Paul Marshall, provided many key contributions, especially at our investment committee. And I also want to note Councillors Tony Newman, Hamida Ali and Manju Shahul Hamid and the wonderful team at Croydon Council led by Lisa, Kate and Sean. With the LEP boundary change, we were very sad to say goodbye to our friends and colleagues in Croydon. The Coaster Capital articles have been updated in line with our governance changes as of the 1st of July and online. That concludes the formalities of our 2021 AGM. I'd now like to say a few words. As you'll know, Coaster Capital is one of 38 local enterprise partnerships across England. We're proud to be responsible for driving the economic growth and sustainable success of this beautiful, vibrant, and exceptionally well-connected region. As a LEP, we're here to provide strategic leadership, connect businesses with support, and act as a catalyst for transformational change. As an ambitious and business-led collaboration between the public, private, third, and education sectors, we work in partnership to deliver a successful strategy for economic growth. It's safe to say that in my first full year as chair, it's been a challenging year. At our last virtual AGM, I began with an apology that we could not meet in person, and with hopes that by this year we'd be back to normal. Little did we know that the new normal had already commenced, and that remote working and virtual webinars seem to have become the norm. Much like adapting to working from home, the last year has enabled us to pause and challenge the norm. I believe that disruption breeds innovation, and I've witnessed some phenomenal new initiatives from the public and private sector, forged from incredibly difficult circumstances, some of which you'll hear more about later today. Last year, I spoke with cautious optimism about business recovery from the first lockdown in March, and how we were backing businesses with small grant funds to help pivot in response to the pandemic. Little did any of us know at the time that just a few weeks later, we would return to another challenging lockdown. As an organisation that is focused on economic growth, we've really had our work cut out. The pandemic has caused exceptional hardship for individuals, families, and businesses, and the health emergency has been accompanied by unprecedented economic uncertainty and recession. Each member of the team at Coast Capital has played a part in helping our local economy to begin to recover, and I'm hugely grateful to them for their commitment and their impact. Over the last year, our Growth Hub has triaged over 2,500 business support inquiries. Our investment colleagues have distributed over £4 million to over 200 SMEs. The skills team launched the Skills Action Plan and Careers Hub, helping support and improve young people's career development. We launched an interactive COVID-19 economic impact dashboard, enabling us and our partners to examine in detail the full economic impact of the pandemic. And these efforts were underpinned by our corporate function, ensuring that our activities are carried out to the highest standards of professionalism and public accountability. I'm extremely proud to chair an organisation where our people are so expert, passionate, and fully engaged on making our region a place where everybody can achieve their ambitions. Coast Capital region does not fit a regional template. Rather than a single city region, it's a network of functional economic hubs surrounding Gatwick Airport, which remains the most important economic asset in the area. The economies of Greater Brighton, West Sussex, and East Surrey each have their own distinct sense of identity, offering a powerful draw for businesses and entrepreneurs. Political objectives for economic scaled up over the last year. We strongly welcome economic strategies published by West Sussex County Council, Surrey County Council, and the Greater Brighton Economic Board, and we're committed to doing all we can to support their delivery. We're closely engaged with businesses and current business issues. Business representative bodies, such as Chambers of Commerce, CBI, the Federation of Small Business, and the Institute of Directors, are critical to the development of our strategies and initiatives. I'm also delighted that we're working closer than ever with the Gatwick Diamond Initiative, Coastal West Sussex Partnership, and the Rural West Sussex Partnership. Our operating environment has also been subject to several important policy changes. LEPs are no longer responsible for the decision-making and administration of regional investment funds, such as the new Levelling Up Fund, and there's no immediate plan to develop a local industrial strategy. Government are preparing a white paper to support delivery of this agenda, and as part of that, we'll be reviewing the role of LEPs. Our objectives for 2022, as well as the changing organisational structure of Coast Capital, reflect our continued ambition to exemplify what effective local enterprise partnerships should do, led by business, to secure the future success of our region. We're building even partnerships directly with our key businesses and key sectors, concentrating on the most important opportunities to sustainably grow our business base, attract investment, develop skills, and to generate jobs. One of the strengths of this region is the diverse range of significant industrial sectors. This ranges from aviation to agriculture, advanced manufacturing to technology development, construction, health, food production, professional services and tourism. We're prioritising our engagement with these sectors and helping to provide the support they need to continue to grow. This includes supporting groundbreaking work on alternative energies being led by Ricardo, supporting the launch of Hydrogen Sussex, and piloting work around decarbonisation in the construction sector. Our Skills Action Plan sets out the skills strategy to support the recovery and future resilience of people, businesses and places in the economy. It's been produced by the Skills 360 Board, chaired by Fran Rutter, the Skills Advisory Panel for the area, and it's the result of significant research, analysis, engagement and consultation. Our regional bid for an Institute of Technology is a key priority for the coming year and brings together further and higher education with businesses to develop new higher technical qualifications to meet employer needs. You will also shortly hear from Jane Longmore about the new School of Nursing at the University of Chichester. I was lucky enough to visit the site last month, and it's a brilliant example of the ambition of the university and the speed at which they adapted to meet a local skills need. Under the leadership of Nita Muir, I know it will be a huge success and a huge asset to our region. We also continue to monitor and report to government on the performance of our existing investment portfolio, which includes 20 projects funded by the Local Growth Fund and Getting Building Fund. But we're also now working with partners to collaborate on the delivery of new priority projects for the region, bringing our unique added value to help convene the public, private, third and education sectors on issues that will be transformational. There's significant demand and interest for these regional projects, and it will form a major part of our future. A further priority, personally, and for Coast to Capital, is the promotion of equality, diversity and inclusion, ensuring opportunities for all within the regional business environment. Diversity is at the heart of our values as an organisation. I'm hugely proud of the trailblazing work that Coast to Capital has led in partnership with John Cushing and his team at MNAI. Last year, and with the support of the Rose Review of Female Entrepreneurship, we began the trial of a data and artificial intelligence-based approach to ensuring greater diversity for our business support programmes. Our initial focus was on using MNAI's technology platform to identify and target women-owned businesses through our Growth Hub. This has been groundbreaking and has been cited as best practice by the Rose Review. But we're now seeking to push this further and to use data and AI to strengthen our targeting of other underrepresented groups in business. I'm very grateful to Malcolm Braven and the Growth Hub team for pioneering this work, and to my colleagues at the Catalyst Southlets, who are also running a pilot. The work is generating significant interest in government and the private sector, and I'm really proud that Coast to Capital has been shortlisted for an Institute of Directors Award for our leadership in this area. Our work with SMEs continues, not just through the Growth Hub, but also through the excellent Hothouse programme run by Dave Cooper and Gareth Sear and their team at the University of Chichester. Over the past 20 months, they've worked with and supported over 700 businesses, of which 30% were female-led. They've also supported over 550 pre-start entrepreneurs, of which almost 50% were female. The team have awarded grants to almost 100 businesses to support their growth, with a total value of £1.2 million. They still have £1.6 million of grants to spend, so please share the details. Look on our Growth Hub website. If you know businesses that could benefit from these grants, we want to be able to support them. The grant has supported a wide range of businesses, including small businesses that have pivoted due to COVID and those that have seen opportunities for growth. It includes an engineering and manufacturing company that have invested in new lathes to enhance productivity and product development. Support for companies to develop their marketing, rebranding and websites. And support, one of my favourite stories, a company called Juice Up, who just before COVID happened set up their business and were then inundated with orders, and we were able to help them buy commercial grade machinery to meet that demand. Our investments and interventions are diverse, whether they're in roads, schools, colleges, universities, technology developments, community facilities, natural capital, my favourite example, building habitats for sand martins, or SME support. They have the impact that supports how we can support people's lives. And today you'll have a chance to hear firsthand from some of those beneficiaries. Our team at Coast to Capital continue to be dedicated and passionate about delivering our vision to build that stronger, smarter and greener. Working with our partners to make a difference to people and places and ensuring that our region is a fantastic place to live, grow and succeed. I'm truly, truly grateful for the support and resilience from the team as we continue to work in a climate of ambiguity and uncertainty. And I know the team will continue with an even greater degree of determination. I want to pay particular tribute to Tony Middleton, who as acting CEO has shown extraordinary commitment, dedication and leadership to our organisation and our region. It's an absolute pleasure to work with you and your exceptional team. I'm also extremely lucky to lead what I believe is the strongest board I've ever worked with. We draw expertise across the public, private, third and education sectors, and I value the robust debate, deep engagement, innovative culture and a shared commitment to our region. I remain committed to leading a LEP that makes bold decisions, aspires to be best in class, as well as securing a brilliant future for the region and our future generations. Thank you. I'm now delighted to introduce fellow board member Claire Mason. Claire is the founder of the award-winning thought leadership agency Man Bites Dog. Claire is a leading innovator and entrepreneur whose views are regularly sought on a global stage. She's going to set out the economic context and opportunities for the region. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Julie. Coast to Capital is a business-led economic development organisation that unites leaders with a passion for building a brighter future for our region. Our board brings together entrepreneurs and corporate business leaders, leaders in charities, further and higher education, with senior local politicians to realise the big, game-changing, cross-regional initiatives that will make the great collective future. There has never been a more important time to invest in major economic interventions to create a sustainable future for our region in every sense of the word. So how is our region faring? Well, I do have some gloomy figures to share, but there's also some light at the end of the tunnel. COVID-19 and its associated lockdowns have had a profound impact on our regional economy. The overall UK economy declined by 10% in 2020. Our region, which is normally in the top quarter percentile of LEPs for economic performance, declined by a remarkable 12%. To contextualise the scale of the unique challenge we face in this region, prior to the pandemic, about 10% of our regional economy came from Gatwick, and about 10% of our workforce commuted to London every day. As you can imagine, it's been a very difficult time for businesses and sectors in our area, many of whom are struggling. Our region's important leisure and service industry has been hit, and the aviation sector in particular has been particularly badly impacted. Air traffic at Gatwick Airport had declined by a previously unthinkable 70% in September 2020 compared to the same 2019. And the whole region has felt the impact, with Crawley, as we all know, particularly hard hit. At the height of the lockdown, nearly a third of the economically active population in Crawley were on some form of job-related benefits, with nearly double the uptake of the furlough scheme than the national average. Reduced operations at Gatwick Airport had also had a severe knock-on effect on jobs related to the airport. And while many sectors across the region are recovering from the pandemic, we expect the recovery of the transportation and storage sector and all of those SMEs in the airport-related supply chain is going to lag behind the rest of the UK as we wait for the airport economy to recover its former strength. We're also aware of significant redundancies that have been announced across the coast capital region, including at Gatwick Airport, our biggest employer. Our employment figures have been quite resilient. Unemployment amongst our younger workforce is rising, particularly in towns that have high dependence on the airport economy. And we will need to continue and redouble our efforts for targeted reskilling programmes. Thinking about our region's growth engine, our SMEs, many of our small businesses simply didn't have the cash reserves and resilience to withstand a shock of this magnitude. And sadly, last autumn, we saw an unprecedented spike in insolvencies. A large proportion of our business base is small and micro businesses who received proportionately less government support during the pandemic because there was no income support for directors of limited companies or the newly self-employed. And unfortunately, this was a problem that never really got fixed during the pandemic. There was, on the other hand, huge take-up of support in the form of business loans across our region, but now those businesses are justifiably concerned about the level of debt they've accumulated, which makes them vulnerable to any future shocks. And of course, the pandemic is not the only challenge that is faced by our region in this post-Brexit environment. Businesses in our growth hub have shared with us their concerns about a whole range of factors that are significantly impacting businesses. Loss of EU labour has put significant constraints on our horticulture and viticulture businesses and our important hospitality industry. Businesses have struggled with increased trading costs due to new trading regulations for the EU. And of course, supply chain issues are causing significant delays in business operations due to a variety of issues, from HGV driver shortages, delays at ports, and from suppliers. And of course, we are facing rising energy prices. The talented people in our community are obviously our most important asset. The expected evolution of our regional economy because of COVID-19, Brexit, and also our orientation towards industries of the future is likely to present a whole series of challenges to our labour markets. We expect that the three dominant issues will be the availability of the skills we need for our growing sectors, the need for higher level skills in all areas, and the need to support people who lose their jobs in declining sectors to reskill. All this will shape our economy and requires Coast Capital to play an even more important role in supporting and advocating for our region through this difficult period to ensure its sustainable recovery. And as I mentioned, there are green shoots in the region and there are many reasons to be hopeful. It has been a real pleasure to see those leisure and hospitality businesses that managed to make it through the pandemic come roaring back to life. I'm sure we have all enjoyed going out and participating in that industry again. And thanks to the hard work, growth in the UK domestic staycation market is also expected to continue with a projected rise of 49% between 2020 and 2021, and we expect that trend to continue. And thanks to the hard work of our employees across the region, many businesses were resilient. A quarter of high growth businesses reporting positive impacts from COVID-19, so they managed to turn that crisis into an opportunity. And about 3/4 are reporting low or no impact, so we still have strength in our economy. And about 1/5 of those high growth companies in our area have also reported that they're now starting to create new job opportunities. And what particularly excites me as an entrepreneur and Coast Capital's SME champion is that these high growth businesses are going to be joined by a generation of micro and small businesses. New company registrations increased throughout the pandemic and increased nearly 40% between 2020 and 2021, with Brighton and Hove boasting the highest number of newly registered companies, including some really smart new organisations in professional, scientific and technical and information and communication sectors. Micro businesses, those with less than 9 employees, in our regional economy and make up about 90% of our business base. Between 2020 and 2021, we welcomed an additional 1,400 micro companies in the Coast to Capital region. And SMEs are also a very important part of our region. They make up that nearly 10% remainder of our business base. And we saw an increase of 65 SME firms, that's those between 10 and 250 employees, between 2020 and 2021. Those businesses were in high growth potential sectors like information and communications. So there are reasons to be cheerful. So how do we see our future opportunities? Well, Coast to Capital's future investment priorities for the region were set out in our Stronger, Smarter, Greener strategy, which was published in summer 2020. I'd love to share some examples of our collective progress, and there are so many fantastic examples right across the region. We don't have space to mention today because there really is a lot to celebrate. So let's take these in turn. With COP26 front of mind, let's start with greener. As Julie mentioned, supporting a green recovery is a key strategic priority for Coast to Capital, and we are delighted to be engaging with a range of partners to support hydrogen and low carbon initiatives. In 2020, as part of the Getting Building Fund, we awarded Ricardo to support the development of their hydrogen engine development facility. As part of our continued work in this area, we are having ongoing conversations with partners from Hydrogen Sussex, Greater Brighton and Ada District Council on developing significant opportunities for hydrogen generation and adoption within the region. This is an area we can really lead and succeed. Ada and Worthing Council are also working with Sussex Kelp Restoration Project and other partners with plan to restore the kelp forest off the coast of Sussex. They were awarded a government grant in July 2021 for a major scheme tackling climate change. If you haven't seen it yet, I really advise you to Google the BBC programme with David Attenborough on the Sussex kelp forest. It really is magical and worth saving and renewing. And as Julie mentioned, we're also working with Surrey Wildlife Trust to develop a natural capital investment company to create to develop a long-term pipeline of biodiversity increase and carbon offsetting investment opportunities. Indeed, in July 2021, Surrey Wildlife Trust received £100,000 in funding from DEFRA to finance the further development of this important project, an area of real innovation where we can lead the way. Now for Smarter, where we as a region have so much to be proud of. Coast to Capital Skills Board really shows the value of bringing businesses and education together. To support the recovery of our labour market, we are delighted to be working with partners on a range of skills initiatives. As you will see from the priorities in our local skills report, we are supporting the bid that Julie mentioned to establish an Institute of Technology in the Coast to Capital region, led by Chichester College Group with the universities of Brighton, Sussex and Mescot. Through the first stage, and if successful, it will create a new state-of-the-art hub at Crawley College, housing engineering and digital learning factories with specialist satellites for delivery at locations right across the region, from East Surrey and Gatwick Diamond to rural West Sussex and our coastal communities. A very exciting project. Sussex Chamber of Commerce has also been chosen by the Department for Education as one of 8 trailblazer chambers to pilot local skills improvement plans. Coast to Capital is working collaboratively with the Chamber and a range of partners to identify how best we can supercharge our skills across the region. We are also extremely proud of the success of the Enterprise Advisor Network. Match funded by the Careers and Enterprise Company and Coast to Capital, the Enterprise Advisors Network is delivering high impact careers initiatives, connecting senior local business leaders with local schools and colleges. The EAN network has been delivering a Coast to Capital Careers Hub, which includes 35 schools across Crawley, Mid Sussex and East Surrey, combining our goals about diversity, inclusion, social mobility with our view on what the industries of the future will be and what supporting talent they're going to need. And excitingly, spoiler alert for something we'll touch on later, the new nursing school at the University of Chichester received funding from Coaster Capital, which received funding from Coaster Capital, Getting Building Fund, accepted its very first students in September 2021. So we look forward to sharing more about that. Finally, stronger. How are we going to support a strong and sustainable recovery? Well, as I have touched on, Gatwick Airport is our largest economic site. In 2019, it indirectly supported over 135,000 jobs nationally and contributed 8.3 billion to the UK economy. Gatwick also invests nearly 200 million each year in the regional economy. As I mentioned, there have been huge pandemic-related challenges around the airport, but the Northern Runway consultation shows private sector confidence in the airport, with this project pledging to create approximately 18,400 additional jobs by 2038 and an estimated additional 1.5 million in gross value added for the region. As you will see in our initial response to this consultation, the recovery of our important airport economy is critical, but it must also be sustainable and contribute to net zero targets. The introduction of sustainable aviation fuel is a good example of Gatwick working with partners to develop technology that will reduce carbon emissions from air transport and contribute to this mission. We also provided funding to Crawley Growth Programme, which is an 8.85 million scheme to develop residential and commercial space in Crawley to support their local economic recovery. Looking at our region more broadly, the right digital infrastructure is critical for our smarter economy, not just in our cities, but also in our rural areas. Coaster Capital has invested in 77 miles of fibre to connect more areas to broadband, connect those rural areas. And making our region stronger isn't just about the infrastructure. As Julie mentioned, there is such a huge range of work that we do. And one of the most powerful and effective areas we work in is our growth support services for business. If you're a small business and you haven't taken advantage of our Growth Hub and our Escalator programme of peer support, do check out the host of support available to every sector, from tourism to digital. Shared, there is so much that we can achieve together. Our economy doesn't end at the local authority boundary. We would like to continue our work with partners on transformational projects that would benefit from the LEP, bringing partners together from across the region for the benefit of all. There has never been a more important time to invest in the economic interventions needed to create a stronger, smarter, greener future for our region. I'm sure you'd like to hear more about the impact of some of our programmes and services at Coaster Capital. So I would now like to introduce my fellow business representative, Board Director Richard Hopkins, Managing Director of Fargrow. He's our rural economy representative, and as the leader of a horticulture business, he brings a growth mindset to the board in every way. Over to you, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. It's a pleasure to follow on from those remarkable recovery stories. So what I want to talk about is what Coaster Capital can do to help and how we can make an impact. Coaster Capital has three business functions. We start with our business support, skills and labour market functions, which provide a range of free support services to businesses, from growth advice through to peer-to-peer mentoring. We have careers education advice to support to secondary schools, labour markets and economic data and analytics information. Our regional projects function provides support to partners to develop projects across our region that have economic and employment creation significance. And our investment function, we manage our investment portfolio ranging from our £23 million business loan fund through to our £325 million legacy local growth fund and Getting Building Fund. The whole team is supported by a function which provides financial services, accountable body services, governance support, programme oversight, risk management and audit, communications, payroll and HR. So at Coaster Capital, we make strategic investments on behalf of the government through our local growth deal and the management of our Growing Places Fund. Over the last 8 years, we've successfully attracted more than £300 million of public investment to upgrade our regional infrastructure and to invest in the growth of businesses in the region. And as a result, we've also leveraged an additional £900 million of public and private sector investment in order to deliver jobs, homes, roads, business space, and other essential infrastructure to support the growth of our economy. In 2020, the government made £900 million available through the new Getting Building Fund. That was for investment in local shovel-ready infrastructure projects to stimulate jobs and support the economic recovery across the region. We were allocated £19.2 million from the GBF for a wide-ranging package of projects that will deliver a much-needed boost to the local economy. Our ambition for our investment team is to provide a professional and high-quality central programme management function, delivering programme monitoring and management services across all of our investment projects and programmes. A key priority has been to translate the strategic priorities identified in the Strategic Economic Plan, themes and programmes and projects. So in the last year, we've made a combined £4 million available to small businesses in response to the COVID-19 pandemic via our Backing Business and Business Recovery grant schemes. We allocated £19.2 million of the Getting Building funding. The redevelopment of Gatwick Airport Railway Station, which received a £10 million local growth fund investment, remained on track despite COVID-19 interruptions. A significant new regeneration scheme, which will transform Worthing's Portland Road into a vibrant and inclusive space, commenced with a local growth fund allocation of £697,000. And a brand new multi-million-pound STEM facility started welcoming students at Crawley College, following a local growth fund investment of £4.9 million. With business support, we deliver high-quality services to business across the region, helping them to address barriers to growth. The Coast to Capital Growth Hub provides businesses with free, relevant and impartial support to help achieve their growth ambitions, including the delivery of diagnostic reviews and delivery of the Growth Champion programme, which provides funded specialists to support to address barriers to growth. The Peer Networks programme, which Claire mentioned, delivered in partnership with MD Hub, a leading peer-to-peer business growth network, focused on business leaders sharing and identifying practical ways of unlocking barriers to growth. And we work closely with the Department for International Trade to make sure our companies that trade internationally get the best support, in addition to encouraging direct foreign investment. Our ambition is to provide a fully coordinated business support service function. In 2021, we provided business support services to a team of growth relationship managers to 10,967 businesses, which resulted in 2,534 referrals with a take-up rate of 30%. We provided medium and high intensity support to 1,190 businesses and achieved a satisfaction rate of 89%. And as Julie has already rightly highlighted, we focused on providing an inclusive service, ensuring that women-led business leaders were supported. The Coast to Capital Growth Hub became the first growth hub nationally to adopt the MNAI platform to assist with identifying women-led businesses in the Coast to Capital area. Delivery of the peer-to-peer network programme to 85 businesses with exceptional client satisfaction, and integrated Coast to Capital growth grants with the Coast to Capital Growth Hub, delivering £2,090,000 worth of grant funding to 60 businesses, creating 220 jobs. We move on to skills. We bring business and education providers together through our Skills 360 board to create the right skills for the people and businesses that will increase economic and social prosperity in the area. Our Enterprise Advisor Network, which I'm very pleased to be part of, builds relationships between schools, colleges and local businesses to inspire and raise career aspirations amongst our young people and to increase their exposure to the world of work. So over the last year, we launched the Careers Hub, launched our Skills and Strategy Action Plan, and made significant progress in achieving the Enterprise Advisor Network programme targets by August 21. And that was 53% of Gatsby benchmark 5, which means learning encounters with employers, against a target of 65%. Progress in that benchmark was affected by the impact of the pandemic and the subsequent temporary closure of and conflicting priorities in schools and colleges. But 100% of eligible schools achieving Gatsby benchmark 6, which is learner experiences of the workplace, against a target of 100%, partially or fully achieved. I'd like to introduce you to the first speaker we've got today, and this is Jane Longmore, who's Vice-Chancellor of the University of Chichester and a Coast to Capital board member. Professor Jane Longmore took up post as Vice-Chancellor of the University of Chichester in May 2017, and she's led the completion of the £35 million Creative and Digital Technology Park, which aims to accelerate the provision of higher skills in West Sussex. Jane has worked in a wide range of universities, holding roles in both teaching and academic management, with a strong commitment to widening educational opportunities. Recently, Jane was chair of the University Vocational Awards Council, a national consortium of over 90 higher education institutions working on the development and delivery of degree apprenticeships and technical education. And at a regional level, she was, until recently, chair of the Sussex Learning Network, a collaboration between HE and FE partners focused on widening access. In June 2020, the local enterprise partnerships were invited to put forward projects for the Getting Building. Specifically, government were looking for shovel-ready projects, capital projects, which can be delivered within 18 months. The objects of the funding were to drive up economic growth, jobs, and supporting green recovery, whilst also fitting into one or more of the key priorities set out by the government. And those were the town and city centre modernisation through infrastructure investments, physical connectivity, improvements to human capital, innovation ecosystem, including improvements to art, and digital connectivity, particularly in more isolated areas. Coast to Capital has been successfully allocated £19.2 million Getting Building Fund across 12 projects. And that takes us to the nursing school, and I'll hand over to Jane.
Good morning, AGM and the wider world. It's an enormous pleasure for me to speak this morning about one of the Getting Building Fund projects. We at the University of Chichester were delighted to receive funding, and you can see on the screen a description of the project. So this was to develop a school of nursing and allied health by repurposing and equipping an existing building. And I'll give you a quick shot of the existing building, which adjoins the site of our local hospital. So this was a building on our campus, which, as you can see, sharp-eyed amongst you, was originally a building where we located art. That moved to our Bognor campus, leaving us with the opportunity to repurpose the building. And you can see some examples of the interesting artwork, which we've chosen to retain on the right. So what was the rationale for this? We had, as a university, already identified growth of the health portfolio as one of our strategic imperatives in our plan. We're a relatively modest university, but growing rapidly and wanting to go into areas which would satisfy regional needs. We're the only university based in West Sussex, so it's obviously important for us to link in to areas of skills shortage locally, to look at what needs there are, and particularly with the pandemic, to look at retraining needs. Nationally, everyone will be aware that there's been a very strong and growing demand for allied health undergraduate provision. It's up 17% this year. So the pandemic has had at least one beneficial impact in that it has triggered a realization that health. That demand has risen nationally, and we wanted to help to satisfy that. We have strong relationships with our local partners, the Community Trust and the University Hospital Sussex NHS Foundation Trust. All of them are crying out for staff. So this is meeting a serious regional need. So what difference did the funding make? The Getting Building Fund, routed via Coast to Capital, gave us the ability to develop a purpose-designed facility at top speed. And this really was at top speed. Richard mentioned that the fund opened in June. We bid into the fund and received notification of funding by November. This was a seriously rapid development because in higher education, when students are beginning to apply, you have to have when they arrive the following September. So we developed the capability to scale up for an intake. We wanted to diversify nursing streams. We wanted to introduce apprenticeships and allied health courses, one of which, physiotherapy, we'd already begun as a degree and had very high demand. West Sussex is short of physiotherapists, and we are trying to meet that shortage. This was rapid. And some might have said at the time, were we going to be able to deliver this in less than a year? I remember a long conversation with Tony Middleton around, can you actually deliver this School of Nursing? And I said, yes, we will deliver this. And as we all know, these are collaborative efforts of an enormously important kind. Without the efforts of all concerned, from the construction workers who laboured on through COVID, this was not an ideal time to be starting a construction project. And we went through all of the ups and downs of supply chain shortages, workers being off, isolating, and our construction team were incredibly dedicated, knowing that what we were trying to produce here was something of immense importance for the local region. We had 1.7 million as a budget, with a contribution of 1.2 million from Coast Capital from the Getting Building Fund. The funding is one element. There is another really challenging element in any project of this kind, and that is the accreditation by the professional body. Those of you who know the Nursing and Midwifery Council know that you don't enter on an accreditation with them without having confidence and real determination to succeed. It is very unusual for the Nursing and Midwifery Council to accredit a new provider, an entirely new provider, with no conditions and no recommendations. We were thrilled to achieve that in June 2021. We also had to recruit staff. We recruited a head of department and associated academic, technical and administrative staff. All of them had to be there. Day one, no staff, no teaching. So by September of 2021, we had recruited a team. I'm very proud of the team. They are going to drive forward the development of the School of Nursing and Allied Health. And then, of course, the students. We'd aim to recruit a first cohort of 40 BSc adult nursing students. We started with adult nursing because that was identified for most need. Our local trust already has a 12% shortage of nurses. That will only worsen as the winter bears onward. So we started with adult nursing and we recruited, and I'm very pleased to say that the profile of the students that we recruited is something that is very regional. 87% of the students were from the local area. Now, this isn't just about local patriotism. This is ensuring that the students that we train stay in the local area. Recruiting from the local area is the largest single guarantee that those students will go into the local trusts. I'm also delighted to say that nearly 3/4 of those students were mature. Again, these are people in some instances making a career change. In some instances, they are people who've already done enough but want to enter nursing. These are people who will want to stay in the profession. And again, a matter for celebration for the local trusts. We're powering onward. We don't stand still on the health agenda. We're intending to grow as rapidly as possible to satisfy the overall demand for more nurses, which we know is a national imperative. So we've commenced the recruitment of 80 nursing students for next September. That work starts now. Our open days are in full swing. And then just to give you a few illustrations to see what we did to that building that I showed you at the outset. Here's the entrance. This is the area that is intended to be as a reception area to give the students and those that they work with the most sense of this being a genuine facility, type of facility they'll meet when they go into the world of the hospitals and other areas in which they'll work. Another shot of the entrance area, converted very beautifully, although the choice of colour was not mine, but we're a very democratic institution. And then the ward. We have to have, as part of our NMC accreditation, a mock ward in which the training practice. And just at the edge of the picture, you can see the most terrifying element in that mock ward, which is one of the mannequins. Don't enter those rooms and turn on the lights at night. It is absolutely terrifying. But those are highly sophisticated digital mannequins on which various procedures can be tested and practiced. And then looking at the teaching room, the ward can also double up as a teaching room. You can see the edge of one of the beds on the left-hand side there. So it's important that this is both a teaching space and an opportunity for practical, so it's theoretical and practical approaches all in one space. A treatment room, so there are various rooms within the building. This will be a treatment room for specialist treatments to practice again. All of this is about hands-on experience combined with placement activity that the students undertake when they go out into the local trusts. So during their course, they have to undertake a specific number of hours of activity based with the trusts. And then the actual classroom spaces. This one you're seeing spaced for COVID. The university had stringent COVID procedures, so students had to be spaced in lectures. I'm glad to say that we're now returning much more to normal, but this was laid out in that form. You can see these are light, sunny spaces. We're absolutely delighted with the facility, and on open days, those who attend are impressed. None of this was here just over a year ago. And it's an extraordinary effort on the part of many people, both at the university and within Coast to Capital, to realise this. This is the return of nursing. It is almost 40 years to the day since nursing was taken from West Sussex as nurse training. It has now returned and will hopefully grow from this point. So I can only record my thanks from the University of Chichester to Coast to Capital for the investment of the Getting Building funds, which made this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. That was a brilliant example of where there's real determination and capability from an organisation, and that Coast to Capital can step up and support them in those kind of projects. Let's talk about backing business grants. Coast to Capital supported over 160 businesses via the Backing Business Grants Fund, and the purpose of the grant funding was to help businesses in our area mitigate the impact of COVID-19. Businesses were encouraged to propose ways in which the grant would help them adapt, innovate and evolve during the crisis. The team worked tirelessly to support as many businesses as possible, and now £1.98 million of funding has been allocated to successful applicants. In Brighton and Hove, My Pocket Skills were awarded £7,997, very precise number, towards software and hardware to support online tutoring sessions. In Worthing, Piglet's Pantry were awarded £16,500 to improve their website and integrate software to process orders more quickly. In East Surrey, Gather No Moss were awarded £20,794 to allow the business to function during lockdown and a restricted environment. Now we've got a case study now from Accelerate. Accelerate is a creative learning and development consultancy who design and deliver engaging training using online, virtual and face-to-face interventions, all underpinned by gorgeous creatives and a sense of fun. They specialise in leadership, diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, management, onboarding, induction and customer experience, both online and of course face-to-face. Chris Scott, learning lead at Accelerate, is passionate about people and their capabilities. He believes that human connection can make any workplace more effective. His extensive background in the learning and development industry has seen him work with some of the world's most recognisable brands. Accelerate received a £10,400 grant for digital design and AV equipment, licenses and stock film development to produce their own content. And I think we now have a video about Accelerate.
Hello, my name is Chris Scott and I'm a director at Accelerate Training. We're a creative learning and development consultancy that focuses on human connection. By immersing ourselves in your brand, getting to know your people, your language and your roots, we always deliver highly engaging training using creative, activity-based material that will capture your people at every turn. Cast your minds back to March 2020. We'd just finished a really successful exhibition. Our business was entirely face-to-face training and was growing nicely. We've been steadily growing every year since we created the company back in 2015. We were forecasting exceptional growth for that year and beyond. And then this happened.
This evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
So our diaries cleared literally overnight. We went from travelling the world delivering projects to clients to being confined to home and not being able to work. As with many businesses, we were in freefall, trying our best to make decisions when any outcome was completely unknown to us. We applied for the business rates grant from the government and our spirits plummeted when we were told that we wouldn't qualify as we were in shared offices. Someone else paid the rates. We knew we had to change our business model and we had to change it quickly. The biggest problem with moving towards digital learning is always budget. It costs a lot of money. It was money that we just didn't have, and what little we had available to us we wanted to keep and needed to keep to be able to pay our people. Then we discovered Capital and we applied for a grant to enable our digital transformation. We applied really quickly and got an answer equally as quickly. It was a yes, and I can't tell you the hope, determination and the lift of spirits that gave everyone on our team. That grant allowed us to invest money in upgrading our creative capability with some brilliant kit. We were able to buy licenses for e-learning software so we could create learning for our clients. We were able to buy a state-of-the-art camera for our new meeting room just behind us, so we could train and meet as if we were all in the same room together. That really is important for human connection. There were various other subscriptions covered in the grant too. We were even able to create an identity for our film content so that we could retain ownership of that. Here it is. So we went from billing just £100 in 2 months, which was scary, to gradually building up our client base from the ground again. We built our expertise in the digital field, creative grew, and businesses started to recover. I'm in no doubt that without that grant, Accelerate just wouldn't be here today. I think one of my favourite moments from our business came in February this year when we won a pitch for NHS blood and transplant. We delivered in record time a groundbreaking induction experience for their people. The money from Capital not only allowed us to transform our business, it's helping us to do the same for the NHS too. We're not out of the woods by any means, but I know now that we'll continue to grow. We'll continue to do our great work. We'll continue to employ people, and we'll continue to unleash the power of communication and human connection in the work that we do. We've continued to invest in our digital offering and creative capability too. And we've got some great plans for the future, all about growth, and none of it would be happening without Capital. So I really just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much to Chris Scott of Accelerate. Let's talk about the Growing Places Fund. The Growing Places Fund was established by the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government and the Department for Transport in 2011 to unlock economic growth, create jobs and build houses and help kickstart development at stalled sites. The fund works as a recycled capital loan, where the scheme regenerates funds based on repayment schedules from previously invested projects. So our case study here is a business called BCMY Limited, which is an industry leader in the recycling of printer cartridges. And they've gone from strength to strength since July 2016, when they received a Growing Places loan, growing turnover from £1.4 million to 3.2, whilst employing an additional 14 members of staff. The company collects used cartridges from businesses and after a range of tests and treatments, sells what it can to remanufacture them out of landfill. Further business investment in R&D made possible by the recent growth has yielded a unique computer vision technology, which identifies the type and model of cartridge so they can be handled automatically, improving processes and reducing human interaction. This benefits both current and future productivity. As well as providing long-term economic employment growth, the process reduces the amount of cartridges going to landfill and incineration by over 267 tonnes in 2019. With support from a 1.45 million Growing Places Fund loan, BCMY was able to move to larger premises to meet demand for their innovation services in the changing marketplace. Their new facility has given the company a better environmental solution for their waste, with zero landfill, zero incineration, and 100% recycling and reuse. The loan also helped launch the Zero Waste Recycling Service, aimed at businesses who want to lower their impact on the environment, increase their corporate social responsibility, and improve their duty of care over printer consumable waste. So I'd like to introduce Simon Gilchrist, Managing Director of BCMY, who's joining us virtually.
Hi, sorry. Simon Gilchrist from BCMY Limited. I don't have any videos or slides or pictures to show, but I do have a very good success story based off the back of a Coast Capital loan and also an earlier grant to share with you. So yeah, BCMY Limited, we recycle printer cartridges. That's what most people see, but we're actually a technology company applying our trade in the recycling market. Back in we founded in 2002, but back in 2014, we realised that there was a big problem with the waste printer toner cartridges, so anything from this sort of thing that basically didn't have a home. It was just going to incineration and landfill. We were getting a lot of it. Our costs were increasing in dealing with it. So in order to save money and solve a problem, we approached Coast Capital for a business growth grant. That match funded with our own funds managed to help us do a pilot facility to prove concept and taking it back to its raw material form, then trying to do it safely, and then also to try and find customers for all of the outputs. We did that successfully, and in 2015 we decided that we should capitalise on that investment and grow the business bigger. However, we were quite stuck as a business with a glass ceiling, limiting our growth, which 3 consecutive years of between 1.2 and 1.5 million pound turnover. The problem was we needed space to grow. Recycling, unlike a digital business, requires space, and you want to grow turnover by 100-200%, you're going to need a lot more space to do it. However, we had little savings and a relatively small profit margin at that. And renting a bigger unit, we were currently about 10,000 square foot, but renting a bigger unit just wasn't really feasible, because we could maybe have afforded 12, 13, 14,000 square foot, but that would have just, if our success had come that we'd planned, we would have then had to have moved yet again within a 2-year cycle, and anyone moving a business, costly, expensive, and disruptive that can be. So to do it 2-3 times in the space of 2-3 years just wasn't really feasible. Buying a premises, again, wasn't feasible. We couldn't have afforded the 20% sort of capital deposit that the banks would need. So we approached Coast Capital again under the Growing Paces loan scheme, and was finding a premises in Littlehampton. It's kind of like a bit of a sieve of a property. When it rained outside, it was also raining inside. But with 1.2 initially expected loan funds, we were going to spend £120,000 redeveloping the site to make it habitable. We realised that we'd significantly underestimated the development cost of the site, but Coast Capital worked with us with it. Instead of closing the doors, and when the goalposts changed, they very much took a risk with us, and because they could see that the thing stopping us to grow was space and was finance. And as anyone knows that have gone for a mortgage, you know, if you don't have you know, the deposit element, then it's a complete non-starter, because they don't like to carry the risk. So Coast Capital stepped in. By mid-2016, we purchased a £1 million property, which in Littlehampton. Sorry, the loan was based on a 5-year loan. The business plan: renovate the property and get back profitable ways, at which point we could then transfer the loan onto a long-term mortgage with the banks. In 2016, we'd ended up borrowing, as Richard says, 1.45 million, spent £345,000 renovating the property. We had initially planned or scoped 25 new roles in the business would be created. Now, being a technology company, we move a little faster than most recycling companies, and hadn't really understood the dramatic efficiencies that we would actually get from both our technologies and the large space. So unfortunately, not having hit the 25 new roles within the business, we have actually added 15 new roles to the business in those 5 years. Within the 5 years, we've also now repaid back the loan completely, have flipped the loan onto a commercial mortgage, and the technology employed within the business that we've been able to invest in and grow, it's all proprietary technology, has made productivity increase substantially, hence the 15 new roles rather than 25. However, what that has done is it's raised our skills level within the business and the type of employee that we look to hire, which has translated into an average salary increase within the business of well over 85%. So we have many more skills, we're employing way more skilled people, and the net wage bill has gone up accordingly. So all good news there, even if it is less roles. We currently now export 40% of effectively our revenue. So we're very much an international business now. In 2019, things were going so well that we ended up donating £1.5 million to charity, or have rather aided in the public recycling printer cartridges in order to generate donations of £1.5 million to charity. We also took over a Gibraltar company and repatriated them back to the UK for the jobs, and that has seen our turnover grow from a stagnant 1.2/1.5 million pound turnover each and every year up until we got to the Coast to Capital grant. To 2019, it was we'd projected 2.8 in our pitch to Coast to Capital. We ended up hitting 3 million, which was just above target, which was great. But then the following year, we projected 3.3 and then 3.8 in 2021. The actual numbers that we've done in the last 2 years is we've turned over 10.6 million pounds 2 years ago and 18.2 million pounds last year. As I say, we're currently investing heavily in artificial intelligence and computer vision to identify items just as a human would. You would look at a printer cartridge and then tell the computer what you're looking at. This sidesteps that, and the computer will be able to see, understand, and record what it's looking at. So that again would allow us to upscale the volume of material that we go through, and the recycling environmental benefits are massive in comparison to what would be happening to these items, 4 or 5 years ago. The further investment in technology in our staff via the Coast to Capital grant, or off the back of the Coast to Capital grant, loan, was that we're now supporting one of our employees through a PhD in Brighton, and we've also undertaken and completed a knowledge transfer partnership with Brighton University as well. So when I was asked to say a few words at this AGM for Coast to Capital, I was only too happy to repay the favour that they've from all of our employees here to Coast to Capital, thank you very much for your faith and trust in us in being able to repay your loan money. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Simon. What a fantastic business that is, and really satisfying that Coast to Capital were able to be involved in that. And just listening to what you were saying, it wasn't a loan to fund a building. It basically enabled you to unlock the genius that was already inside your business, and that's really exciting. And segues very neatly onto skills, because clearly you've 85% increase in average wages because you've got some highly skilled people working there now. The Skills 360 board brings business and education providers together to create the right skills for people and businesses that will increase economic and social prosperity. Our Enterprise Advisor Network builds relationships between schools, colleges and local businesses to inspire and raise career aspirations amongst our young people and to increase their exposure to the world of work. And we've got a very good example here of an event which was run by David Allison, who's co-founder and CEO of Get My First Job and an enterprise advisor. It's called the Hello Future event. The enterprise coordinator team identified during the height of the pandemic a need to create for young people to experience meaningful employer encounters through a series of interactive talks and panel of employers. Over 15,000 secondary school students from 27 schools and colleges across Sussex received career advice from the local business community at a week-long online careers event, Hello Future, on how to navigate their future careers. With the COVID-19 pandemic limiting the ways employers can interact with potential employees, the Hello Future event provided students access to local employers and industry experts through a live online program of panel events to provide advice and insight on the world of work, the skills needed in different industries, and what's required to excel in the workplace. The event also offered a parent or carer specific session that provided guidance to those whose young person is about to enter the workplace. I'm going to hand over to David Allison, who is joining us virtually.
Thank you very much, Richard. Hopefully you can see and hear me okay. And I have to say that describing me as being the person that ran it, I think does a great disservice to Kelly and Penny from the Coast to Capital team, who were absolutely at the heart of the thing and made everything work. Let me just share with you a few slides on the event and what we did, and also provide a little bit of background. So I'm very fortunate that in my day job, I get to worry all the time about young people and careers, and I set up Get My First Job a few years ago, back in 2014. And what's interesting is that although we are an SME, we're based in the region, we provide a national solution. So we're a social enterprise. We're very proud to be a social enterprise, backed by the likes of Nesta and City and Guilds. And we provide systems to FE colleges, to independent training providers, as well as working with large employers to help them inspire the next generation of young people, the next generation of talent, as it were, to come into all sorts of opportunities. And that can be anything from apprenticeships into graduate roles, work experience, and so on. So we started looking at this as an issue, really, as you said, as part of, I certainly had this as part of my role as an enterprise advisor. I'm very fortunate to be an enterprise advisor. There's a network of us around the region, and our job is to go into schools to support them with their work around careers advice and guidance. And it's an incredible role to have, because we get to visit so many different schools, talk to different teachers about what's going on. And we're really ably supported by both the enterprise coordinator team within the LEP, but also the wider work of the Careers and Enterprise Company. Now, for those of you who aren't close to the world of education, we focus very much on something called the Gatsby benchmarks. And I have to say, in the world of education, which has been subject to quite a lot of change, in fact, continual change it sometimes feels, these standards have now been in place for some time, and they're very stable. And because they're stable, it means that schools, pupils, advisors, and the coordinator team are actually able to really start working towards these different elements. It does draw on a wide range of different skills and experience. So we're not just there to kind of create links for individual businesses. We're there to help make sure that this entire program is sustainable, that it's really embedded into the school's approach to careers. It's embedded into the learning of all sorts of different subjects. But fundamentally, it's about working with individual pupils to help them see what's possible, to raise aspirations and to create those important links with the world of work to inspire and create those connections. Now, although we're making great progress prior to COVID, not surprisingly, COVID and the pandemic has had a major impact on the work of the enterprise advisors, enterprise coordinators, and also schools themselves. And I have to say, being involved in the world of education, I can't help but take my hat off to everybody involved in the NHS and the care services. But schools have, I think, been underrepresented in the amazing role they have played over the last 18 months. If you cast your mind back, they were initially there providing support, even through school holidays, to those important workers who were required in other parts of the economy. And since then, they've been dealing with so many different changes, everything to do with the way in which exams have been kind of dealt with and delivered and changed, as well as things like managing bubbles, COVID, kind of isolation and so on. So it's been a really, really difficult time for them. But what hasn't gone away is the need to connect young people with their future, to help them experience and understand what the world of work is all about. So two of these standards, encounters with employers and employees and experience of the workplace, were two that we really recognised as a team that was a challenge. And with all these challenges, as we've heard already today, there are also opportunities. And so the idea was born for Hello Future. So Hello Future was a programme which was designed to address these challenges where you could not go face to face with employees in the workplace, you couldn't bring external speakers into schools, and instead to create an opportunity to take the amazing skills and network we have within the region into every school in the region and to connect with young people, with parents, and also with teachers. So over the week of 12th to the 16th of July, we ran a series of different activities. And I have to say, my hat goes off totally to Kelly Parkhouse and Penny Daly from the LEP team, who really took this thing on and wrestled the rest of us in submission to make sure that we pulled together this fantastic program. And also Lucy at American Express did a fantastic job. So a core team came together to shape what we could deliver and to bring out, if you like, the skills that are so important, no matter which sector you work in, and to young people, to parents, and also to teachers. And through the work of the LEP and American Express, then we were also able to bring together a lot of other organisations to support this activity. And really, this is where the power of this whole initiative came through. It wasn't a multi-million initiative, sort of thing we've been hearing about so far. It was a low budget production. But the power of the network brings together 75 different advisors and volunteers from different organizations, meant that 15,000 plus young people were able to hear from all sorts of different sectors, as diverse as recruitment or engineering or American Express, obviously. It was a truly inspirational series of activities to be part of, and I certainly learned an awful lot about it. So it was a great initiative, and the outcomes really did speak for themselves. So we were able to communicate with 75 different volunteers, I've said, across 27 schools, over 15,000 total participants. So it's a really big number. And it was delivered remotely, but we also facilitated live engagement with pupils. So across the region, schools were able to type in their questions from different pupils. We were able to moderate them and put them to a panel of different experts. And one other thing that I think really appealed to me was actually the ability to consider all of the different pupils we have across schools in the region. And Caroline supported every activity with live signing. So we were able to actually really open up this entire activity to a wider than ever before. We're also mindful that we needed to make this thing sustainable. So it was not just about these events in this 1 week, but making available printed materials so that people could access them afterwards, making the videos available afterwards, as well as initiatives such as digital badging, so that individuals and pupils could show that they had worked towards a certain range of different employability skills. So a really interesting event that was phenomenally successful. And I think that really challenges us next, because the world has not yet returned to normal. In fact, it probably will never go back to the way it was. COVID has accelerated digital adoption in so many different areas, some of which we've heard about this morning. And there are many benefits to that as well. I also think that the world of work has fundamentally changed. So we have gone from being a physical organization, a physical building, to a remote organization. And therefore, the skills that we now look for as an SME of the young people joining us are very different. So there's a lot to help schools understand how the world of work has changed, but also maybe to just reflect on the successes we've had in opening up so many different opportunities to so many young people in so many schools in a very cost-effective way, and seeing how we can sustain that as a project for the future to support the physical activity that obviously we need to get back to as soon as possible. So Richard, thanks so much indeed for inviting me to come and talk a little bit about the wonderful project that was Hello Future, and to all of those people who are involved with business and join this Enterprise Advisor Network. It's an amazing opportunity to connect with the next generation, to share your passion for your skills, your sector, your company, and help inspire those people who we're going to all rely on as we continue to grow and develop in our businesses, no matter what they are.
Thank you very much, David. That was it's a tremendous project, and obviously the inspiration behind it is to raise career aspirations amongst young people, which is such an important thing to do. But I would recommend any business leaders who are out there listening to this thinking that's great, but there's nothing I can do for that. Trust me, there is, and get involved with an enterprise advisor to see what you can do, because you will be inspired as well. It's my pleasure to hand over for the closing remarks to our very excellent Acting Chief Executive, Tony Middleton.
Well, thank you very much, Richard, and thank you for preparing this morning's proceedings. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone online for attending today, and also for listening to the impact that our local enterprise partnership is having across our region. In my remarks, I would firstly like to express my sincerest thanks to our staff, our board, and all of our partners for really continuing to support our work over the last year. You've heard about some of the achievements and impact that our LEP is making across the region. But as a local enterprise partnership, we also face very uncertain times ahead, with the government currently conducting their local enterprise partnership review. However, I'm sure of one thing, and that is, despite this review, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that the team work tirelessly to support our regional economy, and also to support its businesses and our secondary schools across the region through the pioneering work that you've heard about this morning from our Enterprise Advisor team. Whatever the government's LEP review determines for us, we will collaborate with them and with our local authority partners to respond accordingly and to indeed rise to the challenge. We will continue also to advocate for the work that we do and that it continues to be funded, whoever delivers it in the future. The levelling up agenda means that we must work even harder than ever before to ensure that our region continues to enjoy both public and private sector investment. As we've already heard, COVID-19 has had a truly disproportionate impact on our region and its economy, and we continue to work even harder than ever before to recover from it. We do not fully yet understand the impact of the ending of the furlough scheme on our region, but we know more than ever before we have to support our people and people who are looking to retrain and re-enter the employment market by supporting our regional businesses to both grow and also, more importantly, to attract local talent. We also need to support our young people in our secondary schools to allow them to be aware of the changing career landscape and understand that many of the jobs that they will indeed be entering into do not even exist today. We've heard today from some of the businesses that we've helped over the last year. However, unfortunately, there are many, many more businesses that we were unable to help because of a finite funding pot. All of our businesses offer the future for our young people, and I pay tribute to those businesses and the efforts that they have made to adapt and change to respond to the impacts of COVID. Some of these businesses have had to change and transform the way they deliver services and the products that they sell beyond all recognition. Their owners and staff have shown incredible resilience over the last year and incredible fortitude as well as they continue to face uncertainty. Our team are currently delivering our Peer Networks programme, as you've heard about this morning, continuing to support businesses across the coastal capital area, helping them to recover and grow from the roller coaster of events over the last 18 months. Applications for the programme are still open, so to receive a number of hours of free business support and bespoke one-to-one mentoring, please visit our Growth Hub website, business.org.uk. As a local enterprise partnership, we've also had to change the way we work and what we do to ensure that we remain both relevant to our partners, but also best able to support them as we move forward. A key plank of this work has been to establish a consultancy support offer. This has been focused on our not-for-profit status, and the offer is rooted in a series of services that to our public and private sector partners to support them. We are very grateful for the patronage that many of our partners have shown us during this period of developing our early startup business. The services that we're now delivering as part of the offer range from producing complex regeneration property business cases all the way through to assisting one local authority with the distribution of the community infrastructure levy. We've also have a number of impending project management and economic appraisal commissions. And our small skills team has also been recently commissioned in the development of a local skills improvement plan. If you'd like to find more about our consultancy offer, our management team will be very happy to have an initial conversation with you. Please get in touch with them via our website, contact details. More information will be made available over the forthcoming months, so please follow us on Twitter and our LinkedIn page and subscribe to our website for regular updates. So to conclude, I would like to thank all of our speakers today and also all of our board members who give up their time free in continuing to guide the strategic direction of Coastal Capital. And once again, I would like to thank all of our partners, our staff and our audience today for listening in.